Blink Publishing presents The Secret History of the Five Eyes, written and read by me, Richard Kerbaj. Introduction. The bedrock of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance was gradually formed by British and American officials without them realizing it. But in their attempt to save their countries from Nazi Germany in the lead-up to and during World War II, they unknowingly helped build the foundational blocks of the biggest espionage alliance in history. During that time, Britain's intelligence agencies, MI5, Bletchley Park, and MI6, united with their American cousins, the FBI, Arlington Hall, and the OSS, predecessor to the CIA, out of necessity and self-interest. There were written and unwritten rules of engagement between them, which were generally observed, but occasionally disregarded. The agencies swapped secrets, pooled resources, and exchanged tradecraft. And while they did not completely trust one another, they shared a common purpose in destroying the enemy. After defeating Adolf Hitler, the United States and Britain suddenly faced a new threat from an old ally of whom they had been suspicious, Joseph Stalin. Yet by the time the two nations figured out what to do about him, Kremlin spies had already stolen British and American nuclear secrets to further the Soviet leaders' pursuit of global supremacy. In 1946, London and Washington quickly repurposed their signals intelligence agreement, known as UK-USA Agreement, to widen their global reach and industrialize their espionage missions at the beginning of the Cold War. In a push for greater intelligence coverage, Britain and America expanded the agreement a decade later to include Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which were geographically well positioned to plug surveillance gaps worldwide and around the clock. They became the Five Eyes. Steeped in secrecy, the partnership transformed spy warfare by evolving beyond its signals-sharing heritage to form a parallel, and yet unwritten, pact between its human intelligence and law enforcement agencies, including the CIA, MI5, the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, ASIO, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. The partnerships among the human intelligence, HUMINT, agencies predated the signals intelligence, SIGINT, agreements within the alliance, but it is when the two sides started working more closely together that some of the greatest operational achievements were realized. Together, the Five Eyes have weaponized hacking and agent running in an intelligence arms race which has spanned the Cold War, rendition and torture of Guantanamo detainees, the battle against ISIS, the attempt to disrupt Moscow and Beijing's meddling in Western democracies, and supporting Ukraine in its fight against the 2022 Russian invasion. At the heart of this alliance are complex and at times flawed personalities whose achievements and failures have helped guarantee the Five Eyes' evolution since its formation. And it is through such personalities that this audiobook is defined. I wanted to explore the stories of the people rather than the policies which are still largely classified. My starting point is in the late 1930s, when a British detective turned spy master helped form the first exchanges between MI5 and the FBI. But I was also fascinated by the stories of the former home economics teacher from a rural village in Virginia, southeastern United States, who helped create one of the most effective counter-Soviet programs, the CIA's only officer in Budapest during the Hungarian Revolution, and the Australian politician turned diplomat whose tip-off to the FBI helped instigate an investigation into Russia's meddling in the US presidential elections in 2016. And there are dozens of other compelling personalities whose stories appear in this audiobook. On the one hand, the Five Eyes is equivalent to a band of brothers and sisters drawn together by common values, language, and cause, whose historical achievements include the defeat of the Soviet Union, combating Islamist terrorism, and exposing Russian interference in Donald Trump's presidential campaign. But on the other hand, the alliance is a non-binding marriage of convenience riddled with distrust, competing intelligence agendas, and a massive imbalance of power that predominantly favors the United States, despite all the talk of a flat hierarchical structure among alliance members. While it has played a vital role in episodes that defined the second half of the 20th century, the existence of the Five Eyes was only publicly declared in 2010, almost 60 years after its creation, in a heavily redacted document with about 2/3 of its pages blank. I have spent the past decade exploring how it functions, initially through conversations with agent handlers and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?